Hey guys, welcome to last week here at MPAI 600 here at Georgetown University. Just a couple announcements. I think one or two of you were able to zoom in on the Capitol Hill brief. I hope it was a good experience for you. And I hope you were able to follow along via Google Earth or Google Maps or Google Street View to see how it went. And if you both want to do your final paper, I know it's a little bit late in the game, but if you want to do your final paper on Capitol Hill as opposed to Russian election interference or North Korea, your final paper, not your final, but your final paper, you can do that as well. I'll allow that for those of you who attended. So please, if you want to do that, please, when you reply back to these that you're interested. And then finally, paper 3, I just want to emphasize this. There's some confusion with one of your classmates. If you did your briefing on groups 1 and 2, you're going to be doing your paper for paper 3, right? If you did your paper for paper 2, you're going to be doing a briefing, and it's all due August 20th, I think, was the date. So I just wanted to keep that in mind, so that you're flip-flopping, as I mentioned in the first announcements. You'll be doing a paper. Again, if you did the presentation already for paper 2, you'll be doing a paper for paper 3. If you did the presentation or the paper for assignment 2, you'll be doing a group presentation, same group that you were with current events. Let me know if that's confusing. I just want to make sure that gets lauded as well. And if you're doing the presentation, just do it over Zoom or VoiceThread. Do it as a group or however you want to do it. Choose one of the questions that was assigned and then just take it from there. If there's issues, just let me know. And I'll just finally say that the final that is due next week is due for everybody. So everyone will do that, and you all have access to it right now. So that wraps up the course. There's some questions on artificial intelligence or some articles this week. Those are optional. I want you to really focus on the final presentation and any assignments that you might have missed this past week. I've been pretty liberal about it, given the COVID emergency and other things going on. But please get those. I can't give you an extension beyond the due date. So August 20th, everything's got to be in because I'm going to start grading on August 21st. So just keep that in mind going forward. And the last thing I'll say, I don't have on the announcements, is look at me as a resource going forward. I have no problem sitting down to talk about jobs, talk about careers. I've written recommendations for people. I have no problem doing that. Just keep in touch with me. You have my email address. Don't be afraid to drop me a line a few weeks from now. And when you start networking for a future job or anything like that, and I can try and point you in the right direction. So again, I see you're paying tuition here, so you've earned me as a resource. At least that's the way I see it for myself. And feel free to drop me a line, give me a call, link in with me, and we can talk in more detail. And I will say this, I haven't done it for the last few years for obvious reasons, but I try and, when you graduate, I try and have a get-together at a local bar. Some people are coming to DC for graduation. A couple of nights before, I usually have a bar get-together. I did that pre-COVID. I haven't done that since COVID. I'll probably try and resume that definitely for next graduation, and if possible in the winter time for people who are graduating then. So the paper I got back, again, just some issues. Passive voice. People think they know what passive voice is. They don't. The top sentence is passive. The boy kicked the ball is a passive sentence. Is an active sentence. This is a passive sentence, right? Don't mean to sound like your 8th grade English teacher, but it's direct object, verb, subject. That makes the sentence passive. This is an active, where it's subject, verb, direct object. Notice that in a couple of your papers. You have to show me how the failures contributed to the intelligence failure. You can't just list out all the issues with the Yom Kippur War, all the issues with Pearl Harbor. Show me specifically how it contributed, how it impacted process and thinking and the inability to manage risk. So you have to get down to that detail. And what were the reasonable decisions at the time? Again, you can list out all the failures for the Yom Kippur War, but if you're accusing the Israeli defense leadership of being, falling down, you have to tell me specifically where was the failure and what could have been done to mitigate that. What could they have alerted the Israeli Defense Force? Could they have done other things? So you need to get to that level of specificity in your final and paper. So that's just a cover for week 2. And I just want to, again, hit some of these. We talked about these last week. These are part of your papers. Lone wolves, that's one of your finals question. A lot of you went correctly in your week 5, talked about lone wolves and, we need to do better OSINT and better reach out or community outreach and all fine and dandy. But even then, people show up on the radar of law enforcement through a number of channels, but there's not enough to arrest or detain. You have to explain how we deal with that gap in one way or another. CompStat, again, a lot of you thought it was when you're talking about that, was it the most decisive tool? And that's another question on your final. But there's problems with CompStat. Altered reports, other factors led to the decline in crime. And then finally, CCTV. We've seen it, you saw it in Boston Marathon. We've seen it for the Capitol Hill, whether it's post forensic activity, to catch people using the Clear app. For those of you who don't know, it's like a facial recognition. So you take a picture, put it through the Clear app, and then it tells you who that guy was. So you take a picture of the guy, wandering the Capitol Hill and bear spraying people. Take a picture of him, put it through the Clear app, then you got his identity. Ironically, the Ukrainians are using the Clear app to identify dead Russian soldiers in Ukraine. Take a picture, run it through the Clear app, get an identity, and then they tell the mom, the Ukrainians tell the mom back in Russia that your son died because of Putin's stupid war. Ethically gray area, but if one of Putin's goals is to tamp down on how bad the Ukraine war is going and prevent casualty figures, this is a way that the Ukrainians could run their own information operation. But for a bigger question is, all right, so we have all that activity. You can do it in Boston. You can do it for the Capitol Hill. Can you do it for low-level criminal activity? Could technology solve some of those crimes that we've seen this spike in crime activity in the last year or two since the pandemic? So that's just things to go forward. Again, just to wrap it up, this week focus on the paper and the final. Look forward to your group presentation. I'll get your final grades out to you that soon for those. And if there's questions or issues, don't hesitate to contact me. And again, I enjoyed having you in my class, and I also, as I mentioned earlier, use me as a resource going forward.